Hey y'all, I'm gonna keep this brief. I made this Florida Cryptid Iceberg as a sequel to my best performing video, the Texas Cryptid Iceberg. I went into some deep research for the last 2 tiers, so some of these cryptids should be ones that y'all aren't probably aware of. From giant snakes to undiscovered sea monsters, to even robotic alien flowers, Florida truly has it all. I hope you all enjoy the video. Skunk Ape. The skunk ape is a large and hairy human-like mythical creature, purported to inhabit the forests and swamps in the southeastern United States, most notably in Florida. It is often compared to Bigfoot, a very well-known cryptid throughout North America. The skunk ape is commonly described as a bipedal human or ape-like creature, 5 to 7 feet tall, and covered in reddish-brown hair. It's also reported to be smaller in stature compared to Bigfoot. It is named for its foul odor, often described as being similar to that of a skunk. So basically think of a smaller Bigfoot that lives in Florida and smells like garbage. Chupacabra. El Chupacabra is the name of a cryptid that translates from Spanish to goat sucker, and depending on the area, it is described as alien and reptilian-like, or similar to a dog. All accounts of the Chupacabra, however, depict it as having large fangs, red eyes, and a backbone covered with sharp spines. It's best known for its attacks on livestock, specifically goats, cattle, and chicken. In 1996, a series of farm animal killings were reported, and Miami residents were quick to claim it was the work of a chupacabra. In 2018, a hairless animal was found in Orlando, Florida, and some speculated it was a chupacabra. In 2010, an alleged chupacabra was shot and killed in Hood County, Texas, and Texas A&M University scientists found it to be a coyote-dog hybrid with mange and internal parasites. Giant snakes. I'm sure at least most of you know or have heard that snakes in Florida are huge. With no natural predators for the most part, tons of food, and being well suited in the environment, it's no wonder they are. A 19-foot-long Burmese python was caught in the Big Cypress National Preserve in July of 2023, and a 215-pound Burmese python was caught in the Florida Everglades in 2022. These pale in comparison to the reports of snakes reaching 32 feet by residents of Florida, which is, at the same time, horrifying. Sewer alligators. It's in the name. Sewer alligators are reported all over Florida, which is just great. Wampus cat. The wampus cat is typically described as a large, 6-legged cat with a human-like face. Its body is said to be covered in dark fur, and its eyes are often reported to glow an eerie yellow or green in the darkness. Some accounts even attribute supernatural abilities to the wampus cat, such as the power to hypnotize its prey or to transform into a human. One of the most distinctive features of the wampus cat is its 6 legs. This unusual characteristic sets it apart from any known feline species, and has led to speculations about its origins in nature. Some researchers have suggested that the extra limbs could be the result of a genetic mutation or a rare birth defect, while others believe that the 6-legged appearance may be a product of folklore and exaggeration. Variations of the wampus cat legend can be found throughout the southeastern United States, with each area adding its own unique twists and details to the story. In some versions, the wampus cat is portrayed as a vengeful spirit, seeking to punish those who have wronged it. In others, it is seen as a more benevolent figure, guarding the forests and protecting the innocent from harm. While the wampus cat is most commonly associated with the mountains and the forests of Appalachia, sightings of the creature have been reported throughout the southeastern United States, including Florida. These encounters often take place in remote, heavily wooded areas, far from civilization. In many cases, the wampus cat is said to leave behind strange, 6-toed tracks, adding to the mystery and intrigue surrounding its existence. Florida black wolf. The Florida black wolf is one of the subspecies of the gray wolf. This wolf was officially declared extinct in 1921, although it has not been officially seen in the wild since 1908. This wolf quickly became extinct due to eviction from its habitat and hunting. As a threat to livestock, a bounty was promised for every Florida wolf hunted. Thus, the number of species fell drastically until it disappeared completely. The Florida black wolf was a medium-sized species, measuring between 2.1 to 2.8 feet in height and weighing between 97 and 194 pounds. People are still reporting that they see these today. Dicephalic shark. In 2013, a 2-headed shark was discovered off the coast of Florida. This rare specimen, scientifically known as the dicephalic shark, had 2 fully formed heads, each with its own set of eyes and mouths, sharing a single body. The find attracted significant media attention due to its unusual nature, which also attracted individuals who believed that these were a new type of shark altogether. But I think I can speak for everyone here when I say, these guys are really cute. Dogman. The Dogman is a cryptid that is pretty self-explanatory. A 7 to 10 foot tall humanoid, covered in fur, with the face of a dog. This type of creature was first reported in Michigan in 1987, and reports have sprouted up in Florida as well. Something else to note is that a majority of these sightings happen in swamps, which is also, coincidentally, a common location for werewolf sightings. Maybe there's a correlation there. Thunderbird. Native American legend speaks of a creature named the Thunderbird, an enormous flying creature with a wingspan over 40 feet long. According to myths from Pacific Northwest, Plains, and Northeastern tribes, the Thunderbird was actually a god in animal form, and the thunderous sound of its flapping wings was meant to scare humans away from its territory. Although many stories claim that the Thunderbird's favorite prey is the killer whale, other myths from the Alini tribe depict these monstrous birds as vengeful hunters, prone to grabbing children in their talons and carrying them away to kill them. Some cryptozoologists today compare thunderbirds to pterosaurs, giant birds of prey that roamed the skies 115 million years ago. There have been numerous reports of similar sightings all over Florida. St. John's River Monster. The St. John's River Monster, better known as Pinky, is a cryptid reported to inhabit the waters of Florida, particularly associated with Lake Worth, near West Palm Beach. Described as a large, serpent-like creature, Pinky is often characterized by its long, slender body, vibrant pink coloration, and a series of humps or ridges along its back. Eyewitness accounts suggest that the creature can reach impressive lengths, with some reports claiming it to be over 30 feet long. Witnesses have claimed to see the creature swimming in the lake, often describing its movements as smooth and undulating, resembling a massive snake or eel. These sightings have led to speculation about its origins, with theories ranging from a surviving prehistoric species to a mythical water spirit. There's another reported sea monster to inhabit the St. John's River, known as Borhynchus. Borhynchus was first reported in 1849, and is basically described as identical to Pinky, but gray in color. Originally, these two were separate entries on the iceberg, but I decided to merge the two since the descriptions were similar enough. The Muck Monster. In August of 2009, members of the nonprofit group Lagoon Keepers attempted to remove what they believed to be a log from Lake Worth Lagoon in Palm Beach County. Each time they approached the object, the log would dive underwater, eluding their attempts. During this pursuit, one volunteer referred to the log as the elusive Muck Monster, capturing footage of the event and uploading it online. Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation marine biologist Thomas Raynert was unable to identify the creature, leading the mayor, Lois Frankel, to declare the Muck Monster an official resident of Palm Beach County. Two-Toed Tom. Two-Toed Tom, also known as the Demon Gator, or just Tom, is a large alligator in the southern United States, usually sighted at the Florida-Alabama border. Tom was a large 15-foot alligator with glowing red eyes. In later accounts, it was described as being 18 to 24 feet long. It terrorized the local areas and was responsible for fatally attacking livestock and even people. Its jaws were powerful enough to easily tear large prey into pieces, and its tail was able to flip over a full-grown horse in one lash. It was given the nickname Two-Toed Tom because all but 2 toes were lost to a steel trap it was victim to. The story of this alligator began to circulate during the 1920s, and the earliest written account of the story was by University of Alabama professor Carl Karmer in his book Stars Fell on Alabama. While visiting the area, locals told Karmer about the monstrous alligator. A hefty bounty was supposedly offered for Two-Toed Tom. Despite the use of guns and dynamite, locals could never kill it, and would supposedly go on to wreak havoc for another 20 years. A well-known encounter of Two-Toed Tom was that of the experience of Pap Haynes, a farmer who had bought 40 acres of land. Despite being told that Two-Toed Tom was simply a myth, Pap discovered that one of his mules were torn apart, with trails of bloody 2-footed tracks that led to a pond. He decided to kill the monster once and for all. With the help of his sons, Pap filled 15 syrup buckets with sticks of dynamite and started tossing them into the pond. Soon after, the pond was completely destroyed, leaving it seemingly impossible for anything to survive. However, screaming was heard from another nearby pond, where they were met with the remains of Haynes' 12-year-old granddaughter, who had come out to see what all the commotion was about. Concluding that Two-Toed Tom most likely knew of their intentions and was able to escape, Haynes would continue his vendetta with the alligator, but would ultimately die bitter and unfulfilled. Florida Sea Devil. Not much is said about the Sea Devil online, but the two sources that did talk about this cryptid stated that it's a huge manta ray, larger than any previously documented. Florida Bearcat. The Florida Bearcat is a cryptid that is said to live in Florida's forests. It is said to have a black and white striped coat, long claws, and yellow eyes. Its description is similar to the binturong, which are adorable. Like the binturong, the Florida Bearcat is said to be harmless. Barden Booger. The Barden Booger is a legendary cryptid, believed to inhabit the more rural areas surrounding Barden, Florida. Described as a large hairy creature resembling Bigfoot, it is often characterized by its imposing stature, shaggy fur, and a notoriously foul odor. Sightings typically occur in wooded or swampy regions, where locals claim to have heard strange noises, seen large footprints, or even caught glimpses of the creature. Dade City Flowers. The Dade City Flowers sighting was an extraterrestrial sighting that took place sometime in 1924 in Dade City, Florida. While out playing in the schoolyard, a young Miss Evelyn Went was suddenly blinded by a bright light. When the light dimmed, the girl saw a strange egg-shaped object sitting in the grass, and out of that came little robotic people carrying some sort of weapon or device. The beings in question appeared to be robots and looked a bit like cartoon flowers. Evelyn asked if she could help carry the device, but when she tried to pick it up, she found it far too heavy. The robot flowers telepathically told her that they were going to stop the work being done in the science building, even if it meant destroying the building. Eventually, the robots went back into their egg ship, but not before offering Evelyn the chance to come with. She declined, and they promised to return to her in 35 years. They boarded their ship, which flew straight up and hovered for a minute before flying off. 35 years came and went, with no sign of the flower robot aliens. Almost 2 more decades would pass until 55-year-old Evelyn Went decided to tell her story in 1974. She claimed that she told very few people of what she encountered, and decided to make the story public now, because many people were more open to the idea of aliens. This, of course, instantly caused a stir in the UFO community, and people flocked to interview her. Researchers such as Stephen Putnam tried to put Evelyn under hypnosis, hoping this might help her recall more details about the encounter, but every attempt failed. Snollygoster. The snollygoster is a long amphibious creature from lumberjack folklore, known for having a very distinct tail that is shaped like a propeller. It supposedly dwells in swamps, but it is especially reported around Lake Okeechobee in Florida. The snollygoster will eat any meat, but supposedly prefers human flesh. When it catches someone, it will use its tail to toss the unfortunate victim onto the spike on its back. Once it is ready to eat, it will drill a hole into the ground with its propeller tail and scrape the bodies off of its spike into the hole. It will then proceed to grind the unlucky victims into a pulp, and then proceed to drink them. Sometimes the snollygoster will just use its tail as a club to batter targets too evasive to stab. Hog Kong. Hog Kong is the name given to a hog that was shot and killed in Florida in August of 2004. It weighed around 1,140 pounds and was killed by a .44 Magnum. The largest hog in history, however, was owned by Elias Buford Butler of Jacksonville, Tennessee. The hog was rightfully named Big Bill and weighed a whopping 2,552 pounds. Alien Big Cats. Alien big cats, sometimes referred to as phantom cats, are large cats that look something like black panthers, leopards, or even African lions. They are alien in the sense that they are not thought to be native to the area. Most of these sightings are confined to the wildest areas, especially swamps. St. Augustine Monster. The St. Augustine Monster was a cryptid carcass discovered in 1896 on the Anastasia Island in Florida, though it was later washed ashore on Crescent Beach in St. Augustine, Florida. The carcass was initially believed by scientist A.E. Verrill to have been part of a giant octopus, so he dubbed the mass the scientific name Octopus giganteus. However, samples taken from the creature were later revealed that the octopus was actually a mass of whale blubber, likely from a sperm whale. Mahamba. The Mahamba is typically described as an enormous alligator, far larger than any known species of alligator. Eyewitness accounts suggest that the creature can reach lengths of up to 50 or 60 feet. Its massive body is said to be covered in thick armored scales, providing protection against even the most powerful predators. In addition to its incredible size, the Mahamba is often portrayed as being incredibly aggressive and territorial. Some stories even suggest that the creature has a particular taste for human flesh, and will go to great lengths to secure its prey. Its powerful jaws and razor-sharp teeth are said to be capable of crushing bone and tearing through the toughest hides, making it a formidable adversary. One of the most famous accounts of the Mahamba comes from a 1907 incident involving a group of construction workers building a bridge over the St. Johns River. According to the story, the workers on the bridge spotted an enormous crocodile swimming in the water below. The creature was described as being as long as the bridge itself. The workers fled in a panic, abandoning their equipment. When they returned to the site the following day, they found that the creature had vanished, leaving behind only a few scraps of torn clothing. Since then, there have been numerous reports of giant crocodiles and alligators in Florida's waterways, with sightings coming in from all areas of the state. Some accounts describe creatures that are even larger than the ones encountered by the bridge workers, with lengths up to 70 or 80 feet being reported in some cases. Trident-tailed sea monster. The trident-tailed monster is frequently spotted in Lake Worth Lagoon, near West Palm Beach. This serpentine creature is said to have smooth, dark skin, a massive body thicker than a telephone pole, and can reach lengths up to 50 feet. It is known for its unique trident tail, which it uses to navigate the waters swiftly. While some speculate it could be a deformed manatee or mutated seal, its distinct features suggest it might be one of a kind. Skinny gargoyle. In recent years, sightings of a unique version of a classic cryptid have started coming in across Florida. Since the early 2010s, reports of a skinny gargoyle have been noted in multiple towns. Witnesses describe the creature as having large bat-like wings, clawed arms and legs, and a dark, slender build. Similar in size to an average human, but notably less robust. Lake Tarpon Monster. The Lake Tarpon Monster, or simply Tarpy, is a lake monster reported to live in Florida's Lake Tarpon. Local legend describes this monster as consuming more than its fair share of the local wildlife, though most reports of Tarpy are unsubstantiated. Native American legend states that this creature has been around for centuries, although the first recorded sighting was in 1993, but all accounts describe it as a 15 to 30 foot long green lizard. Old Hitler. Old Hitler, also called the Harbor Master, is a giant great hammerhead living around Florida and the Bahamas. First sighted by German U-boats during World War II, it was nicknamed Old Hitler due to the scars supposedly spotted on it. The massive hammerhead is said to be 20 to 24 feet in length, and would make it possibly one of the largest hammerheads ever documented. For decades, Florida residents have reported sightings of this legendary hammerhead along the state's southern Gulf Coast. Many of the legends describe this shark as dark as a shadow and covered in scars. Others said the shark had machete wounds and a knife stuck in its fin, which was the result of a fight against a fisherman. In some stories, the scar on Old Hitler's head is shaped like a swastika, a result of his encounter with a bow propeller, a harpoon, or perhaps even a fight with another shark. Gulf Breeze Aliens. On November 11, 1987, Ed Walters, a contractor in Gulf Breeze, Florida, claimed to be immobilized by a blue beam in the sky. He then took 5 Polaroids of an object in the sky outside his home. Walters reported seeing the object hover about 200 feet above the ground. He claimed the UFO made multiple subsequent visits to him, videotaping it and taking 32 photographs of the object. He further reported witnessing the craft land on Soundside Drive and deposit 5 aliens on the road. He stated that one of the aliens stared into his window, at which point the aliens communicated with him in English and Spanish via telepathy. A blue beam of light then caused him to be lifted 3 feet off the ground. On February 7, 1988, Walters allegedly photographed his wife, attempting to outrun the blue beam. Walters also claimed to have communicated further with the aliens, and he and his family reported 19 sightings overall. On May 1, 1988, Walters reported feeling the alien presence while he was at Shoreline Park after midnight. He then saw a UFO in the sky and took a photo of it, and then proceeded to lose consciousness for an hour. Walters stated that the UFO leaked some kind of liquid that continued to boil 19 days after he captured it. Pukwudgie. A pukwudgie is a human-like creature found in the folklore of various indigenous people in North America. These mischievous beings are often described as goblin-like and are said to live in forests, possessing magical abilities. In terms of appearance, pukwudgies are typically around 2 to 3 feet tall. They have human-like features, but with exaggerated characteristics, such as larger noses, ears, and fingers. Their skin is smooth and gray, sometimes glowing, and they have thick hair that resembles a porcupine's spines. They can disappear and reappear at will, transform into animals like porcupines or cougars, and create fires. They are also said to lure people to their deaths, kidnap individuals, push people off cliffs, and attack others with short knives and spears. Stickany. Stickenees were said originally to be human witches that grew more terrible and powerful the more they bestowed upon people in the world. One of their most notable powers was the ability to transform into owl-like humanoids to terrorize local villages. It is said by day, the Stickany looked like other Seminole people, but by night they changed completely. The Stickany had more of a werewolf-like transformation. Once the moon came up, they would vomit up their souls, internal organs, and blood, and transform into undead owl monsters that feasted upon human flesh. Lusca. The Lusca is a name given to a sea monster reported from the Caribbean. It has been suggested by cryptozoologists that the Lusca is a gigantic octopus, far larger than any known octopus today. There's another legend that says it is half shark and half octopus. The Lusca is said to grow over 75 feet, or even 200 feet long. However, there are no proven cases of any other octopus growing up to even half these heights. To attack properly on the surface, the octopus would have to have one tentacle on the seafloor to balance itself. This would mean that such accounts, if real, would have to take place in relatively shallow water. Other descriptions also mention that it can change color, which is a characteristic commonly found in smaller octopuses. The supposed habitat is rugged underwater terrain, large undersea caves, the edge of the continental itself, or other areas where large crustaceans are found, which is supposedly what they feed on. Giant penguin. In 1948, several people reported finding large, three-toed animal tracks at Clearwater Beach in Florida. Later, more tracks were found along the shore of Suwannee River, 40 miles from the ocean. Later that same year, a giant penguin was allegedly sighted at a distance. The huge bird was described as 15 feet tall and having alligator-like feet. During the same time, people in a boat off the Florida Gulf Coast reported seeing a huge penguin-like bird floating on the water. These incidents were reported in several newspapers. Later that year, another huge penguin-like bird was allegedly seen from an airplane on the banks of the Suwannee River in northern Florida. On April 11, 1988, St. Petersburg Times reporter Jan Kirby revealed that the penguin hoax had been perpetrated by Tony Signorini and Al Williams, a locally known prankster who died in 1969. Signorini stated that they had been inspired by a photograph of fossilized dinosaur tracks and showed the reporter the huge penguin feet that they made themselves from iron to create the tracks. 1988 mermaid sighting. According to Great Southern Mysteries, written by E. Randall Floyd, an Australian diver had an encounter with a mermaid-like creature in 1988. I'll leave the full story on the screen if you want to read it all, but I'll summarize it. Diver Robert Froster was an experienced diver who was helping his friend take photographs of strange rock formations miles off the coast of Florida. One afternoon he was diving alone near these rocks, when he noticed a disturbance in the water behind him. He then noticed a shadowy humanoid more than 20 yards away from him in the water, which then rushed towards him. He claims it was a mermaid, but it said it had one thing on its mind only: to kill him. He managed to swim back on board his boat, all the while the creature was clawing at his feet. He never saw the being again, but he believes it is guarding, in his own words, the secrets of an ancient city. Carnivorous pink cloud. This one isn't exactly a cryptid, but I really wanted to mention it, due to how weird it is. The carnivorous pink cloud is a bizarre ghostly phenomena that was sighted around the Tomoka River in Daytona, Florida. As true to its name, it was observed to consume, or at the very least dissolve, the flesh of animals. The cloud was blamed for numerous deaths of animals around the Tomoka River, as well as some of the disappearances of the people living nearby. The pink cloud has been sighted back as far as 1605, where it was first sighted by a Spanish explorer named Alvaro Mexia. Some debunkers believe the cloud to be toxic gas or swamp gas that is hazardous to the local wildlife. Pensacola Sea Monster. The Pensacola Sea Monster is a plesiosaur-like creature that was supposedly discovered in Pensacola, Florida. In a first-person account, Edward Brian McCleary claimed to have had a terrifying encounter on March 24, 1962. McCleary and 4 friends paddled a life raft out to dive on a wrecked ship. A sudden storm came up, forcing them away from land. At night, a fog closed in on them. In the fog, the crew heard something moving in the water, and then saw what they claimed looked like a telephone pole, about 10 feet high, with a bulb on top in the fog. The object was, however, a plesiosaur-like animal. More specifically, the neck was about 12 feet long, brownish-green, and smooth-looking. The head was like that of a sea turtle, except more elongated with teeth. There appeared to be what looked like a dorsal fin when it dove under for the last time. The eyes were also green with oval pupils. This creature proceeded to kill McCleary's companions one by one. McCleary alone managed to survive by making it to a protruding mast of the wreck they were diving to which he clung to until daylight. For clarification, it's important to note that they were diving to the USS Massachusetts, and the ship still sits there today, in only 26 feet of water in the Fort Pickens State Aquatic Preserve, with portions of the ship still protruding from the sea. McCleary still lives in Florida, though he apparently has not spoken on the subject of the attack since the article first came out. The deaths are real too, but the Coast Guard found nothing more than a tragic episode of accidental drowning. New River Inlet Carcass. In August of 1885, Reverend Mr. Gordon of Milwaukee, as well as various companions, examined the carcass of a large sea creature that was found on the shore of the New River Inlet in Florida. Witnesses described the carcass as being up to 42 feet long and 6 feet in diameter, with 2 quote-unquote flippers of 4 limbs and an apparent long slender neck. Sadly, a storm washed the carcass back to sea, leaving skeptics to believe that the carcass was a basking shark. Mossman. The Mossman is described as a large humanoid covered in green moss or foliage, with eerie amber eyes that shine at night. Standing approximately 6 to 7.5 feet tall and weighing between 200 to 450 pounds, it is believed to use moss-like appendages to camouflage itself. The creature was first spotted in 1978 by a couple on the beach who mistook it for a figure in a raincoat until it stood up and locked eyes with them. In the next 2 years, it was spotted on several occasions. People reported seeing its moss-covered head appear out of the foggy mist from the ocean. It was seen at Red Reef Park, West Palm Beach, and Hillsborough Beach. Some say it was a humanoid creature, while others say it was more of a ghost-like creature. The latest encounter of the Mossman happened in 1980. An elderly couple were having a quiet stroll late one evening in Red Reef Park. Upon their walk, the woman noticed a green shroud hidden amongst the foliage. She leaned forward to get a closer look at what she thought was one of the birds. She then got the shock of her life when the creature spun around and locked gaze with its amber eyes. The elderly couple ran off, but by the time more people came, it was gone. Bayside Mall Incident. In the first week of 2024, a supposed fight broke out between kids at Bayside Mall in Miami, Florida. The official report was that cops responded to teens lighting off fireworks and fighting each other, which is seemingly, a normal occurrence for the most part. However, rumors began to spread immediately after that 8 to 10 feet tall alien-like shadow creatures came out of portals and were spotted at the mall during the incident. Apparently these creatures were attacking residents and there's no footage online to back it up, other than some grainy screenshots from a video someone took. Yes, it sounds far-fetched, but did I mention that a total of 183 cop cars arrived on scene to stop a quote-unquote teenage disturbance? And why shadow aliens coming out of portals of all things? How does someone see a brawl between teenagers and fireworks, and then proceed to claim it was actually 10 feet tall alien shadow creatures attacking people? I don't buy the fireworks story personally, and this whole incident was completely swept under the rug as soon as it came. One more thing I find interesting is that when interviewed, the witnesses tried to record the creatures, but their phones were not working during the incident. 1992 alien sighting. In May of 1992, in Dade City, Catherine Frankovich was walking her 2 dogs through the Florida Everglades when she felt as if she was being watched. She then heard a loud noise similar to someone cutting down a tree with an axe, and then noticed a figure staring at her. She described the being as having grayish-pink skin that almost looked plastic. It had giant almond-shaped black eyes, stood at 4'9", wore metallic-looking clothes, had a disproportionate head compared to the rest of the body, and had very veiny appendages. Frankovich then said that the being leapt away, like a mix between a gazelle's leap and a pogo stick. She and her dogs ran after it, and she saw the alien run into a tunnel that was formed from dense vines between the trees. She couldn't follow it further due to the horrible stench that emanated from the tunnel, claiming that it smelled like a combination of sulfuric acid and formaldehyde. After giving up and walking back to where she was originally, a black car with government plates drove right up to her in the grove. The windows rolled down, revealing 2 men in suits, asking Frankovich if she had seen anything strange near the grove, to which she lied and said no. She was then given a business card that had a raised gold emblem of the White House on it, but no other information that would connect them to a particular agency. After a brief conversation, these men in black drove away. Philippe Park Owl. There's a small town in Clearwater called Safety Harbor, which is where Ponce de Leon landed in the 1500s, searching for the Fountain of Youth. Supposedly, he massacred the entire native population in a matter of months to secure the area which supposedly held the Fountain of Youth. Apparently these murders were erased from history, and the only proof of the natives' existence is the burial ground called Philippe Park. The park has no electricity and is closed at night, but occasionally people sneak in after hours and have some interesting claims. Aside from the usual ghost stories, there's a local legend in the town about a huge owl that guards the burial mound. People say it has a 12-foot-long wingspan and swoops down at those who disturb the land. Lake Clinch Monster. Unfortunately, there's not much about this online either, but basically Lake Clinch is a lake in Frostproof, Florida, and a giant sea serpent lives there. According to this newspaper clipping, fishermen advise others to carry heavy tackle. Oviedo Monster. In the central Florida town of Oviedo, only 15 minutes away from Orlando, there have been numerous reports and sightings of an alleged cryptid that looks very similar to a specific body part of the male sex. Oh my god. This creature is said to stand 7 feet tall when fully erect. It has a long phallus-shaped body and 2 round legs. Most sightings take place at night in the woods of the Stillwater neighborhood, which is where coincidentally many teenagers go to smoke cannabis. As a matter of fact, all sightings have been from teenage stoners in Stillwater. How is this even an alleged report? Moving on. Florida Man. I've saved the scariest for last, the dreaded Florida Man, capable of doing nearly anything they set their mind to. There aren't any more cryptids to list, so I'm just gonna list the funniest things these guys have done. Thank you all for watching. Florida Man impersonating a police officer pulls over real cops. Florida Man attacks girlfriend with banana. Florida Man accused of shooting roommate 10 times during argument about cats. Florida Man jumps into Bass Pro Shop's fish tank in South Florida. Florida Man tries to walk out of a store with a chainsaw stuffed down his pants.